Okay, you guys. So if you follow us on Instagram and you watch what we're doing, you know how passionate we are about being healthy, you know, what we put into our bodies, taking care of ourselves. So today we have a special show for you. I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Ian Smith to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Great to be on the show in person.
Finally, so he was on our show before on Zoom, but that was for Fast Burn.
Fast Burn, yes.
Yes, so now we actually get to have the honor of having him here, and he's on his book tour, so he was able to come see us. But if those of you that don't know, he's a #1 Times best-selling author of so many books, 23 books.
Jeez. This is my Michael Jordan book.
I know. Well, first of all, I have to ask you, how do you make time for 23 books?
You know, I got to tell you, I am prolific only because I really love writing. Like, I truly love writing. So I was writing even when I was, you know, being a doctor full time because it's something I love to do. So it's not work to me. And when I have downtime, I'm always thinking of ideas, and I don't have enough time in life, unfortunately, to write all the ideas I already have in my head. I mean, but so for me, it's not.
Well, I'm tired just thinking about all the stuff that you're doing. So what I want to talk about too is I love the fact that you're really helping people change lives and get healthy. What inspired you to do the research on this book? Because it's plant-based.
Yeah. So Plant Power came about for two reasons. One, because I love red meat. I love ribeyes. I love barbecue brisket, cheeseburgers. I'm getting just...
Making me hungry.
I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about it. But I also realized that I was eating too much of it, you know? And I'm a physician, and I've been talking about nutrition and health for my entire career. I knew I was eating too much of it, and so I said, well, let me just cut down a little bit, right? I don't want to eliminate it, but let me cut down a little bit. And I also wanted to eat more plants. I think that vegetables are really poorly cooked by a lot of people, which turns people off from vegetables. And so the whole new craze of oiling and seasoning and roasting vegetables has changed things tremendously, right? I like cauliflower now. Never liked cauliflower.
I love cauliflower.
Right? Love it now. Brussels sprouts, couldn't stand them as a kid because people are boiling them and throwing them on a plate. That's ugh. Anyway, so I said, can I eat more vegetables and more fruits? And I said, yes. So I developed a 4-week program for myself in which I would slowly reduce the amount of meat I was consuming. So I'm slowly reducing meat while I'm slowly increasing plant-based foods without totally giving up meat, dairy, and seafood, because I don't want to become a full vegan or vegetarian, though there's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
Right.
And there are vegetarian and vegans who can follow Plant Power because there are options for everybody. But I think that most of the country is in the middle. That is, that they still want to have meat occasionally and some seafood. They know they should be eating more plant-based foods. And I think this is where we are. So this is the idea. My wife is also a vegan.
Okay.
And I've watched her, and she never pushed it on me, has not pushed it on me. She knows I'm not going to become a vegan. But I enjoyed kind of, you know, all the good food that she was eating. And it's always very healthy and very colorful. And I'm like, geez, I should be doing more of that, right? And eating maybe a little less steak. So that's Plant Power.
But it's 4 weeks. I mean, it's a really simple program, and you can really have the best of both worlds, which I like, because I've been vegan and I've done that completely plant-based. And then I kind of missed a little bit of protein. I added some back into my diet. So I like that there's a lot of things you don't have to do without, like maybe some wine and things like that,
I don't want to correct you, but I want to modify what you said.
Yes.
So you wanted to add more animal protein back in.
Yes.
Because one of the misconceptions is that eating mostly plant-based means you're not going to get enough protein, and that couldn't be further from the truth. There's lots of protein in things like chickpeas, beans, lentils, and other legumes. In fact, when you look at the proper ratio, the important ratio of calories, protein content to calories, plants have the best ratio. You want a high ratio. You want high protein, low calories compared to beef. Beef has lots of protein, but it also has lots of calories.
Okay.
So not to go back to math, but that ratio is not a good ratio, right? You want the other ratio. So when you talk about good, clean protein, it's really in plants. You have bodybuilders, excessive weightlifters. I lift a lot. You can see on my Instagram at Dr. Ian Smith, spell the doctor out. But you can see all these guys and women who are serious athletes who are vegan and vegetarians. And once again, this book is not to make you a vegan or vegetarian, but it's to say that eating more plant-based food, you get enough protein.
Yes, and let's talk about the benefits of plant-based diets, right? Because there are so many benefits. I have inflammation, and it's also really good, I heard,
Yes.
to help fight inflammation in the body.
Yeah. So plants tend to have a more anti-inflammatory effect, which means fight inflammation. But tons of studies have shown that it helps with certain types of cancer prevention, heart disease, stroke, helps with type 2 diabetes. In my Facebook group called Plant Power, and those at home or wherever you are, join our group. I'm in the group every day helping people go through the program and doing Zoom and Facebook Live sessions. But in our Facebook group, people lost 10 to 12 pounds on average in 4 weeks. And that's a big number. But beyond that number, they also lowered their blood pressure, lowered their cholesterol levels. And for people who are out there who suffer from these chronic conditions, who are saying, I don't want to take my medications, I can't afford medications, the people in our Facebook group, they reduced these numbers. Some of them got completely off medication, or they cut the medications in half. So, eating more plants, I know it sounds cliche, because your grandmother always said, and mother said, eat your plants, vegetables and fruits. But they really are nature's miracles.
So there's amazing recipes in the book, and they are very simple, which I like too. But can you give us some more tips on more plant-based meals, like how to do that?
Sure. So I think that, I think most Americans probably consume 70% of their meal is animal-based, 30% is plant-based. And the subtitle of the book is Flip Your Plate, Change Your Weight. The idea is I want to change that ratio. So I want you to eat 70% plant-based and 30% animal-based. So how do you do that? Well, one thing to do is have meatless Mondays. Just decide that on 1 day a week, I'm not going to have any meat whatsoever. Okay, that's a good start. The other thing is to think about salads, right? Most people like salads, but think about a nice big green, colorful salad, and then use chicken or seafood as an accent, meaning slice or dice seafood or chicken and put it on top of the salad. So you're still getting some of that animal protein.
Okay.
But look at that plate. 70% of that plate is greens, right, and vegetables, because it's a big salad, and only 30% is the meat. That to me is kind of like the ideal situation.
I love that. It's simple too. It's not so complicated. So the meals are easy to make. I like the fruit smoothies that you have for breakfast. The snack is like 21 almonds that are raw, salmon with veggies. You've got different things in there.
Take some dates. By the way, a great snack is take 5 dates, stuff them with almonds. Delicious.
Well, and I like that you break it down and you make it easy, but one question I wanted to ask you is some people think sugar's bad, right? There's that sugar thing with fruits, and I shouldn't eat that. Can you talk to us a little bit about that aspect?
This is a very controversial topic because people kind of love their sugar. But added sugars are not great for you. And when people compare sugar that they put in their food at the table versus the sugar that they find in fruit, and by the way, vegetables have sugar also, they compare it to that, it's not a proper comparison. Yes, they both have sugar, but the way to look at it is what I call the sugar package. That means what is coming with the sugar. What's the whole package? When you have fruits and vegetables, the sugar package is, yes, there's sugar, but there are vitamins, there are other phytonutrients and minerals. So that package is a much healthier package than, let's say, sugar in a donut or sugar in soda. What does that come with?
Right.
Nothing. Well, it comes with calories and fats, but that package is awful. So I would like people to think less about whether or not it contains sugar and more about, if it does contain sugar, how good is the package?
That's a great point. So I want to talk about the weeks, right? Because week 1 opposed to week 4, there's a big difference in the meals. I think we're showing some video of the meals right now.
Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit about the difference in the transition?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's also a 5-day warm-up. So this is not a program that's going to just dramatically remove your meat or dramatically reduce it right away. It gives you time. So there's a 5-day warm-up, then there's the actual 4-week program. And the big difference between week 1 and week 4 is that you are eating meat less often, but you're still having it. But you're also, instead of it being the major ingredient of your entree, it is part of the entree. So you may have, some meat in a soup, for example, maybe a chili, rather than having a huge, 8-ounce burger. So it's really about kind of how we distribute the meat differently in week 4. But you're going to see the recipes in week 4. You're going to say, wow, I can have this. Yeah, it's going to have pasta. There's going to be some pizza. There's going to be steak occasionally. But it really is about how we distribute. That's the big difference.
Okay, perfect. And then this is something that was interesting to me, the dirty dozen, right? So this really opened my eyes because I do celery juice like every morning. So I know that's on the list. Can you talk to us about what the dirty dozen is?
So people have always asked, should I be eating all organic food? And the answer is absolutely not. And people mistakenly think that organic means healthy. And that's not the purpose of organic, actually. Organic started as a means or a way of farming to save the environment. Organic farming is much more environmentally friendly than non-organic farming. It had nothing to do with health.
Okay.
No one said I'm going to make an organic orange because it's going to be healthier than a traditionally farmed orange. In fact, the reason why people think that organic may be a little healthier is because it may not have the pesticide and insecticide residue that comes from traditional farming. Let me break it down. In organic farming, no chemicals, no sides whatsoever, CIDES at all, no chemicals at all, agents. So it's all natural, which is, by the way, why the crops die faster, because bugs may eat it, and therefore organic's more expensive because it's more difficult and more expensive for farmers to farm in that fashion, and the yield from that crop is less.
Wow.
Okay? And the traditionally farmed situation, they use insecticides and pesticides to kill the bugs, and that lets the crops live to, full bloom, and they can harvest them. But one of the potential problems is there may be a little bit of residue on the skin of the fruit or vegetable. So people who were eating organic were saying, well, we're going to avoid the pesticide residue and insecticide residue. Well, in most cases, there's not much residue, and the amount that's there is so small that it doesn't have a real biological impact on you. But if you are still someone who's a little anxious about it, then you would eat what's called the dirty dozen. And that is those foods that you're going to eat the skin of, like an apple, like a pear. Then you may decide, leafy greens, that I'm going to have that organic, if I'm going to go organic. Okay? Now, let me just also say this. There's no difference between an organic banana and a traditionally farmed banana. You peel the skin, so the skin is irrelevant, and the pulp of the fruit is the same. Organic bananas don't have any more or higher quality nutrients than traditionally farmed.
Do they go bad quicker if they're organic, would you say, because there's not as much in there?
I think organic vegetables tend to go bad quicker because traditionally farmed have used pesticides and insecticides to protect it while it was in the ground. So I think they tend to spoil. And by the way, while we're on that topic, when people say fresh fruit and vegetables, fresh is always in quotes. By the time those fruits and vegetables have been harvested and they make it to your shelf, they've probably been out of the ground for 3 or 5 days. So really, how fresh is fresh? I was just in LA, for example, in the produce area of LA, in East LA, and these huge warehouses of produce sitting in, these huge cartons and these huge crates.
Wow.
In these warehouses. Those products will be there for at least 2 days, and they probably took 2 days to get there, maybe, who knows? So when we say fresh is when you can walk out your back door, pick it, and eat it that night.
Grow it yourself.
Right? Which is why frozen is okay. Frozen is much better now. Just make sure that there's not a lot of added salt, that there's not a lot of added sugars and other processed ingredients, but frozen is okay.
Well, good. And the other thing I want to talk to you about is the meat substitutes, right? Because that's a big deal too. There's the Beyond Burger. There's all these different options now. What do we look for?
Yeah, the meat substitute, I try to attack it in the book because I feel like I started on page 34, by the way, and I talk about the things you should look for meat substitutes. Sometimes a regular old-fashioned beef patty is healthier than a meat substitute. Why? Because they add all these processed ingredients. They add a lot of sodium. Be careful of that. They add a lot of calories. Be careful of that. They also use what are called bad fats. So they use a lot of saturated fats versus the better fats, which are unsaturated fats. And sugars. So you have to be really careful. In the book, I take you through some of the things to look for at the back of the label. I'm not going to mention any brands right now, but I will say that there are some meat substitutes or meat alternative products that are horrible. They're trash, basically, as the kids say these days, and you should be careful of it.
When you say keep saturated oils to less than 2 grams per serving.
Yes. And people need to these are the words. Saturated, not good. Unsaturated, better. Trans fats, never. And here's the trick on trans fats. Trans fats have been used to keep products what are called shelf stable. That means it keeps things to live a long time on the shelf so grocery stores can have time to sell it.
That's scary.
There's no nutritional value to it whatsoever, okay? And the trick that the manufacturers do is they call it other chemical names. So trans fats is one way to call it. Also look at hydrogenated oils. And the third term is partially hydrogenated oils. If you ever pick up, which I did by the way in my house last week, we were eating some muffins, I won't mention their name. My kids love to make themselves, and I looked at the back. I looked at the back of the label, and it said hydrogenated oil.
Oh my gosh.
Trans fats. You know
You're like, never again.
You know what I did?
Did you throw them away?
Went right into it and emptied and called the family meeting and said, unfortunately, guys, I'll find something better for you. I know you guys like to make these muffins. No, you got to stay away from it. No value whatsoever. So
it's important to read the labels. I think it's very important. So I love that you have examples. You kind of mentioned this earlier in the book on how to eat for certain conditions, like lowering your high blood pressure, cholesterol, and you can really do that with food. I mean, you can really, like you were saying in your Facebook group, people are really noticing that their levels are going down.
Food is medicine, honestly. I mean, we abuse it in other ways, and it's okay to have fun. I'm not a food cop. So it's okay to have fun with food, right?
Food police.
I'm not that. But food is medicine. And when you eat the right foods in the right way, it really is very nourishing to our body, and it has healing properties. The problem is we abuse it in the sense that we destroy good food. The way we cook it, we destroy it. The way we package it, we destroy it. The way we process it, we destroy it. And once again, I'm not asking people to eat perfectly. I do not eat perfectly. You're gonna have some processed foods in your life. That's a fact of life. But if most of the time you can make a better choice, then your body would be very grateful, and you will live longer. There's a study out of Norway that followed people who were plant eaters from a young age. They lived 10 years longer.
Wow.
And the study also found that you're never too old to start eating more plants, because they looked at people in their 70s and 80s, and those people still added years to their life by eating more plants. So food like fruits and vegetables and whole grains are fantastic.
Well, and you have a plant PowerPoint system in the book too.
Yeah.
Which will help. Yeah,
I won't get into the granularity of it, but the idea is in the book to make it easy, because ease of use is always a big part of what I try to do with my programs. I help you calculate kind of points. Like you get a certain number of points a week, and you can use them any way you want. You can divide them every day. So it just gives you kind of an easy accounting system that you can keep track of, so that you know that you're getting that 70% plant-based and 30% animal-based.
Well, and I know we have to go in a minute, but I have to get a tip for the viewers, because I know how active you are on Instagram. I see your workouts while you're on the book tour. Check out his Instagram.
At Dr. Ian Smith, spell the doctor out.
But what would you say to people that are busy and have a busy lifestyle, or they're traveling? What kind of tips? How do they make time for working out?
This is what I think you should do. You should start small and slow. The problem is people try to do too much too fast.
Right.
And they're not able to stick to it, and so they totally throw it away. But if you start by saying, okay, you know what? For the first week, I'm only gonna work out 15 minutes, 5 days a week, 4 days a week, just 15 minutes. And that doesn't have to be in a gym. In fact, don't go to the gym. Go outside in your living room, march in place for 7 minutes. The other tip I give people is break up your workout. Ideally, I'd like you to be able to do it contiguously, right? 15 minutes straight. Some people are not, they're deconditioned. They can't do it. No problem. Why don't you do 5 minutes? Then a little later, another 5 minutes. And slowly your endurance is going to build, and you say, well, I can do 7 minutes today and 8 minutes. So I think if people start slowly, and they start with exercises they can do right at home, though there's nothing against the gym, I love gyms, but if they can start at home without gym memberships and equipment, I think that it can become a regular part of what they do. And by the way, stop parking. People will go to, here's the craziest thing. People will go to parking lots, and they're like, oh, I gotta work out, or they'll leave a gym after working out. Then they'll go to the parking lot and they wanna park inside the store.
Right.
And they're fighting because they can't get
close enough.
Come on, guys, park away, get a little walk, it's okay. That's a nice, easy thing.
I like that, and I think a lot of people are on their computers now too, so when I'm on the computer a lot, I try to take 10-minute breaks and walk on the treadmill, or go outside with the dogs or
10
something.
minutes.
Yeah.
it's a nice refreshing break, right? And it's not even keeping track. Like, oh my goodness, you
need a mental break anyway.
That's right. And the physicality becomes part of your routine, and you're able to do it easier.
Well, good tips. Okay, you guys, so the book is available now, so go get it. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, it's at Walmart. Pick up your copy. We've got ours, so we're going to be trying the program and see what happens and report back on everything.
Yep.
And then real quick before I let you go, I heard a rumor that your detective novels, The Unspoken and Wolf Point, have been picked up for an upcoming television series. Can you give us any inside scoop?
Yeah, sure. It's my Ash Kane series, which is a detective who used to be a police officer in Chicago who leaves the force because he won't participate in a bad cover-up of a killing. And so this guy is a private detective in and around the city. So 2 books in the series so far, The Unspoken, Wolf Point, 3rd one coming out next year called The Overnights. But it's been picked up by BET and BET Plus to become a streaming show. We've already written the pilot, and we're working on the 2nd draft, and so it's fun.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Exciting news.
So if you like mysteries, check them out. They're a lot of fun. And
you can find everything on your website, too, all of the books and everything at driansmith.com. Well, thanks for coming in today.
It's great to be here. It's nice talking to you.
Next time we'll have to have you for longer.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, we love it. You guys check everything out. Again, we'll have everything on the website. If you have questions for Dr. Ian, send us a message. We'll get those answered. And then we are going to let you guys go. We're off on Friday this week because we are doing some other things for my birthday coming up. Yeah. But we will be back next week with everything fun and fabulous. So be nice to each other. Have a great day. And we'll see you next time when we put our finger on the pulse of San Diego. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.